What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. And we're late because of me. Yes, it is because of me. I had computer issues. Battery was dead. Windows wanted to restart. So, yes, that's why we're 15 minutes late. But, hey, at least you waited for us. So thank you so much. This is another episode of Comic Book Weekly. I'm Mike Spiderslayer from Comic Book Corner 2.0. And, of course, we have Cat Comic Uno. Kat, can you hear me?
Pause, kind of.
Yeah, pause.
Oh, of course she did. So I'm just going to go on to Brant. Brant, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. And hey, maybe the debate is over, so people that were watching that can come join us now. So I don't know if it's still going on or not. But
I actually was watching it myself, and I did find it to be a little hilarious. So I don't want to get into the politics side of things because I know how it can be touchy for people. Sure. But nevertheless, it was kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Lisa was watching it, so I caught a little bit of it. So, yeah.
Which one's this?
The political debate.
Man. Yeah. I haven't had the guts to watch it yet. I think tomorrow I'm going to get the highlight reels for it.
Yeah. It's something. I'm telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely been a time.
But with that being said, though, guys, I think we're going to have a fun show. We got a little bit of everything, not a ton of news, right? There's a little bit, and we were struggling to come up with a topic, but I guess we came up with some type of a few different topics for our show today, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to talk about maybe X-Men and Batman all together. Sorry, my dog is looking at a radiator right now, and I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing some troublemaking. But yeah, I'll move her in a second. But let's start talking about our first topic, which is Tom Holland returning Spider-Man 4.
I mean, I guess it's not a surprise to me. I mean, I didn't know there was an actual issue if he was going to come back.
Oh,
with a baby.
Doggo.
There's the troublemaker. There's the little Lenny.
Trouble.
All right, you're going inside. I know. All right, bye-bye. But yeah, no, I agree. Oh, they're so cute. I didn't the little story of Lenny, I hadn't had a dog in years since my other dog passed away, and then we're like, it's time. Let's get another dog, and she's been great. She's very different than my other dog, but that's I think that's what makes her even cute. She's so energetic. She loves being everywhere. She hates being alone, which is why she's right here.
My dog always like jumps up on the couch next to and just literally lays like alongside my leg, just attached to it, doesn't leave. It's crazy.
Those are the doggos for you.
I lost mine like 2 years ago now, I think. So it's weird. We can't have pets at this house. So
sure. Oh really?
Oh, they don't allow.
No, not at all. So it's kind of sad. But my mother-in-law has a dog that we all lived together for a year, and we got the dog while we all lived together. So she's kind of the family dog because all the other dogs kind of passed on. So Noelle, we call her Noe. But she's like excited when any of us come over. So she's kind of all our dogs. So
there you go. You got the family dog. How old's that
dog? Let's see. She was really young when we got her, and that was 3 years ago. So probably like 4.
That's cute.
3 or 4.
Good age. Yeah. Puppy age has been fun. I'm excited for her to be like a year. That way, she maybe relaxes a little bit.
Yeah, that's always a challenging time for sure.
Yeah, but she's a cutie. Cool. I think that was all the media news. Unless there's more we want to say about Spider-Man, but he's returning.
Yeah,
it'll be another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
The name change says, "I have no pets, no desire to have one." My brother's the same way. He loves that he gets to see Lenny, and then he's like, "Okay, bye." I'm glad I'm like adjacent to this dog, but I don't have to take care of her, which is understandable.
Just one more sidetrack with pets, and I'll let us move on. But I never had a pet my entire life until I moved to Texas, and I inherited a dog because Lisa had 2 dogs. One of them was like hers, and the other was came from somewhere else and was just kind of there. And she became my dog. So then that I had a pet, and for 10, almost no, not about 8 years, 7 to 8 years.
Wow.
Dog. So now it's kind of weird not having any around the house.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
Yeah,
it does get weird for sure.
I've had a dog my whole life, like ever since I was like probably in like kindergarten, first grade.
Wow.
And I literally have had a dog ever since.
No,
Wow.
they're nice companions
That's
for
wild.
sure. I also
Yeah.
never liked cats for the longest time, but my business partner, he has a cat, and I'm like, I always tell him she's the only one I like. Because she acts like a dog. I'm like, she's the only cat I like. Because I'm not a huge cat fan.
Right. Same.
It does look like in the comments people want us to talk about James Earl Jones. I know Mike wanted to talk about his passing, and then also the passing of the astonishing X-Men artist Cassidy. So he also passed away sadly. So I mean sad.
Yeah. Also, there was I'm trying to get his name up here. Peter Renedy, who did the voice for Splinter in the '80s TMNT cartoon, also passed away. So
oh well,
I
didn't know that. Yeah.
I
mean,
today.
I can say for like James Earl Jones, like when I heard about his passing, I think it was yesterday actually. I was watching the news and I was like, what? I was like, listen, I knew he was older, right? But it's almost like a shock. I was like, no, it was like it's one of those things where it was like his voice was so definitive, like when you knew it was him, like he was Darth Vader. And when I look back on it, it's like, would I look at Star Wars the same way if James Earl Jones didn't do the voice for Darth Vader? You know what I'm saying? And he really made the character, And then same thing with Lion King, like with Mufasa and everything. He had that very royal-like voice. He did so many things. So I mean, I want to say just in that fact, like he had a real impact. Like every time he was in a movie and I heard him speak, like I wanted to hear him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So is really, really cool stuff. I mean, he was great at what he did overall, just in his whole body of work.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. His voice is just iconic for, obviously Darth Vader above everything else, but Mufasa as well. And it's just, like you said, Mike, you hear that voice and it I don't know, it resonates Star Wars. But, and I remember the first time, like I put it together that the actor was the voice when I saw Coming to America and he's in it. I'm like, that voice, that's Darth Vader.
Yeah, you realize it.
Yeah.
And like every time he speaks and then like you see him, you're just like, it just reminds you of Darth Vader every time, man.
Yeah,
it's so wild,
Very, very sad, yeah. But long successful, life. 93, I think he was when when he passed. So and then John Cassidy, who did Astonishing X-Men, fantastic artist. Way too soon.
That wasn't on my radar at all. That obviously,
they don't know what caused his passing. They haven't released it yet, so it'll be interesting to see what happened.
Because he was so much younger, like Earl
he
Jones.
was only like
he's older,
he was only 52. So but he did like, I know recently he did like Astonishing X-Men. He did Marvel Now. I think Avengers or something now. He did that too. And but then he did a lot of covers and other things, like a lot of other things. And then so it's always tough when you have someone in the business that passes away. And it seems like this particular year we've had a lot of people that have gone, and it's hard to find that top talent. And unfortunately, there's another one that's lost. And I'm sure definitely, he'll be missed by a lot for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, the voice of Splinter, it looks like it was natural causes for him. And he was born in 1935. So,
oh, wow.
That's a long life. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, they'll all be remembered for their amazing work, though. So
yes,
for sure. So we wanted to give a little bit of note on that one. But let's move on to some comic news here. First, we have two pieces actually came out today, so I think it's gonna be news for Mike. But there's a prequel Spider-Man comic coming out from Christos Gage. So this is your Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon that's coming out, which I'm pretty excited for, especially if X-Men 92 was so good. I'm curious to see what a Spider-Man cartoon is going to do. So I'll probably pick this up and see what it's all about.
Yeah. Who you said Christos Gage is writing it?
Yeah.
So
Who does a lot of
he's
those
written
tie-in
a ton of
type stuff.
Yeah, he's written a ton of stuff, right? When it comes to Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think personally, though, at this point, we have way too much spider stuff. I mean, I have a whole short box of just there's Amazing Spider-Man, right? There's just that. And then I have a short box of all the different spider comic books that are out right now. And it's ridiculous how many there are.
No, there's especially if you count like Venom and Carnage and all those fun
that's
stuff.
not
There's a
counting
lot.
them. Venom has
wow.
his own box too. So this is just
it's
all
too
Spider,
much.
like Spider Gwen, Spider Boy, freaking Spider Woman, Spider, what's it called? Like
Superior Spider-Man.
Superior Spider-Man, just like everything that has come out, you know?
Yeah. I'm reading through this article, and it looks like there is going to be like some interesting, supporting cast and guest stars. Like Nico is going to be in this.
Oh, I mean, now I'm sold.
That's cool.
Now I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Also, did you hear Ice Cream Man's getting a movie from the guys who wrote Spider-Man 2 and Beetlejuice? I did, which is so interesting. I'll give myself a little shout, but we were nominated for a Ringo Award for Hairology for anthology, and like everyone who we know outside of comics, they're like, "Do you think you're gonna win?" I'm like, "No, we're against Ice Cream Man that just got a movie picked up and Scott Snyder." So no, I don't think so, but I'm glad to be nominated.
Yeah.
So it's just funny that was announced this week, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, there's." No chance, but I guess you never know. But
I mean, I'm Ice Cream Man getting a movie. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, the book is really well done. I haven't read it as of late. It's just one of the books that I fell behind on. Not that you can ever really truly fall behind on it because it's just an anthology story, horror books. So, but it's really well written, so I know a lot of people still read it. So
yeah.
Let's move on to some more Marvel news here. Bishop and Cable's getting a one shot, kind of in the vein of that Timeless books that I didn't quite like, but this Time Slide, it's going to be for December. Because it's Bishop and Cable, I'll probably get it, but I think it's also very interesting that it shows how much Marvel is trying to do stuff with the X-Men. They're like, oh, the X-Men's are cash cow now, so let's do everything with the X-Men.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's super popular. Yeah.
Right. I do like those two characters together. They were really interesting during the Krakoa stuff too. So I'll probably give this. I'll probably pick it up as well.
And it's a one shot. It's during December. I don't think there's gonna be a lot coming out at that point.
Right. Yeah.
You got Cable and you got Bishop. I think they're pretty two popular characters. And like you said, Kat, they're just like based off of the cartoon, based off of Wolverine and Deadpool, and based off of all the new X-Men stuff right now in general. It makes sense to see, let's come out with another book. Maybe that one will do well.
This is a good question here from Manuel. Between Absolute Power and Blood Hunt, which one do you think had the strongest start? Absolute Power. There was a point to that series. And this is coming from, I know you guys love Absolute Power. This is coming from someone who's like, I think it's fine. But Blood Hunt, there literally wasn't a point to that series. Besides, there was a Blade movie coming out, and now that Blade movie's not coming out anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that event felt like it was like missing something. It wasn't like I disliked it, but it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Where if you read DC comic books, there's a lot of stuff building up to this event, right? Just the Superman book in itself, when you had the Brainiac Queen that was introduced by Brainiac, and she's a major character in this particular event, right? And just other things that are going on in the book itself. I don't know. It's just I feel like it's a much better event than Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt's just there. I feel like the only ramification now we get out of Blood Hunt is, okay, vampires can walk during the day, right? And then Miles Morales is a vampire. What else was there? I don't remember.
And did the Miles Morales vampire, is it bleeding through to that series still? Or?
Yeah, he's still a vampire.
He's still a vampire.
Yeah. So that's really the only thing. Yeah, those are the only things I recall that were like really lasting repercussions, at least so far.
So. Tony says, that's what I'm saying. DC feels way more cohesive and connected than the Marvels got gain on. Yeah, right now, I do agree. I think it always flip-flops, honestly, with that, too. I think DC is doing a really good job at that right now, and I'm sure Marvel will do a good job at it 3 years from now, and it'll continue to flip-flop.
Yeah, absolutely. Always does.
All right, let's move on to the next topic here, which is, I wanted to talk about this. Alien prequel is now 18+. I think it's really interesting that Marvel's been making moves to do more 18+ stuff. Sometimes. And I wonder what that means for the bigger audience of comics, right? Like there's this kind of controversy about Wednesday Warrior comics in particular, that it's a lot of older people that are reading it. And then at some point, we're all going to pass it at a certain point, and then no one kind of gets the baton. And kind of same thing here is that they're focusing so much on 18+ books. It's like, oh, but then how about the teens and the kids who want to read these comics? Is the big two really making any moves to do that? I think they have in the past. I think, examples of that from DC's Primer. I really like that book. I think that's a good all ages book. But I mean, even your Miss Marvels and your Spider-Gwens don't feel like teen books. They don't really feel like they're targeted them. I guess they're targeted to Spider-Man fans, I guess, or the bigger universe, but there's nothing really targeted to younger readers through the direct market.
My shop now has, like, on its main wall with all the other new comics, they have a kid-friendly comic book section, right? And so
there's a lot of Marvel in DC, or is it more different stuff?
Like a mix, and I would say there's probably maybe 10 books altogether. You know what I'm saying?
And most of them are probably collections. They're new comics.
No, it's new comics that come out. Yeah, that's on that rack. You know what I'm saying? Everything else is like trades or other little things like that. But I would still say that there are certain comics that are all ages. They're not as like
Spider-Boy.
Spider-Boy is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Boy, I feel, is a really good book, in my opinion. I think Dan Slott's doing a great job with it, and it's a perfect all ages book. And it's like a low-key Spider-Man book, but it's just a Spider-Boy, and so I think that's a perfect book, but there's not a lot of them out there. Yeah. Like you said, Kai, it's mainly geared to the older audience. It's almost to the point right now where it's like, should we have ratings on the comic book? This comic book is rated G. This book is rated PG, or you know what I'm saying?
What even just did that? They just put in, like, you have to put in, like, is this for teens? Is this for all ages? Is this for adults? Which
just like video games.
Yeah. And honestly, I just think that there should be more books for teens and obviously kids too. But I think for kids, it doesn't really matter if they're old prints, right? It doesn't matter if it's a book from 5 years ago, but teens want to follow something on a weekly basis. And I think it's a shame that there's nothing that they can feel like they could just the Teen Titans that were actual teens. There was Spider-Girl. There's so many different things.
Yeah, you're good now, I think.
Did I pause? I was saying when I was growing up, it just had different books. I feel like that does not exist now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them out there that I can say, okay, if you're a teen, you could probably are good enough to read. Like, I would say for me, I think if you're like 13, 14 and you want to read Amazing Spider-Man, I think that's okay. Spider-Gwen, I think that's okay.
I think Batman and Robin is probably fits that pocket as well. So there's a few, but I agree. It's not marketed towards that age.
Exactly. Can teens read it? Yeah, but will they like it? Probably not, because it's so ingrained in what we've already been reading.
Right. But why is that? Like, is it because comics are more expensive now? And it's geared to the people that can
afford them,
the disposable income and can afford them. unlike when we were younger. Oh man, when we were younger, it was like, yeah, it costed $1. Not $1. I felt like back then can go a lot further, you know? So if you had $5, it's like, bro, I can get 5 comic books for $5. And then if you go in like the quarter bins or whatever it is, you could get a lot of comics for a quarter, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was easier for like these trades to be being sold. Like DC was doing that YA line, which was honestly super smart because it's like, oh, yeah, it's $15, but I get a lot of story. When you're buying like a $5 book and it takes you 20 minutes to read, that kind of sucks. Tevi said, what about the new Ultimate Spider-Man? That is like the most opposite to what teens want to read.
Yeah. It's so, which is completely opposite of the original Ultimate Universe, which I think was a perfect kind of jumping on for teens. Yeah. But this is, when you're talking about a middle-aged man and a family man becoming a superhero, I don't think that's really the teens vibe, right?
Yeah. But that's why I want to talk about Aliens, because honestly, if you watch that movie, it's not that gory. I don't even know if it's a rated R movie. So I'm like, oh, why did the comic book have to be rated R? It wasn't that gory of a movie. Okay, moving on to these new Justice League membership card promos. I mean, something different, right? They're doing something. I love that DC tries to do that. I know Marvel did it with the fangs. I don't know where I put those fangs, but they're trying.
I mean, I think it's fine. It's just like, it's one of those things that I would say it makes going to the comic book store fun. You're just like, oh, I want to get the new, absolute books, and I want to get those trading cards. Like, I think that's a fun little thing to have. I like stupid stuff like that because it's like reminds me of when I was a kid and like you had your G.I. Joe figures and it told you like the little card in the back of what they are. And same with like Transformers, Transformers is the same way. Right. So there you go. You got Batman on there, right? Yeah. Gives him all your little stats. And like that stuff is cool, man. It's like, why not? It's like the lantern rings. It makes going to the comic book store a little bit more fun that particular week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious. I don't know if I said it in the article, but I'm curious if it'll be like, oh, this week's Batman, this week's Wonder Woman, or like how you collect them all.
Yeah. Let me see.
Because if every week's a different card, then it's like it gives you also another reason to go on a weekly basis instead of getting your books monthly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, it says each week you'll be eligible to receive a different Justice League membership card.
Yeah, that's really smart.
I'm going to collect them all. I'm going to send them to CGC. I'm going to get them graded, and then
as you should.
I'm going to sell them for billions of dollars, guys.
So Batman's week 1 for anybody that wants Batman.
I'm getting the Batman one. I'm going to get a 9.8.
There you go.
That's I want to collect them all. But let's move on to the next thing here. There's more infos on the Sentinel book, so we get to see the different characters here, which seems pretty new characters. You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. It feels like a 90s image kind of 90s image kind of a concept. These Sentinel soldiers, they all have these cool code names. That's the vibe that it gives me.
Again, G.I. Joe.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing.
Profile cards, when you look at the images, tells you like kind of like who they are.
Right.
So I'm excited for it. It's a mini series. I'll read it.
Yeah, there's one of them.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, see?
That's pretty cool. Drumfire. That sounds like a G.I. Joe name or something like that too.
Exactly. Yeah. I saw those images and I found myself reading them all. And I'm like, okay, it's like you got a little file on them. That's neat.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty neat, concept. We'll give it a shot, see how it goes.
So next up is and we'll talk more about Exceptional X-Men, obviously, as we talk about the comics, but Iceman is joining Exceptional X-Men, which when I saw that tracks.
That was on the
that makes sense.
QR code thing. That was.
And then they revealed it, I think, as like issue 4. They're like, look, Iceman's showing up. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool. I think it's a character that makes sense. Yeah.
I guess they needed to put that on there. Also, they probably wanted a male character at least in there. So I don't know.
Yeah, because I think there's only one other male character, and that's like one of the new students that we'll meet.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll definitely talk about that book in general. The QR code thing is so dumb. I know there's been controversy about it where people are like, why do I have to get the QR code? And,
I don't
they're
know,
not getting my story.
Okay. Like, I get like people why they're kind of upset about it, but why are we so upset about it?
Everyone has a phone. Most people, at least.
Just scan it on your phone and then I know it's hard to read, so just take a screenshot of it and then blow it up that way.
Yeah.
Just
it is hard to read.
That's why I always
bugs me.
Yeah, it is. It's just, but I would take the picture and screenshot it and then just blow it up and then I could read it. I get it. It's an inconvenience. Trust me. I totally get it. I can understand why they did it though, because it's like it does prevent spoilers from coming out. But then people are mad because, well, I don't have the complete book. What happens when that QR code's no longer, I guess available because I guess they expire and things like that. But at the same sense, it's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like I got worse things to get mad at than just the QR code, right?
And I wouldn't view it as not having a complete book. I would view it more as this is like, like end credit scene. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's kind of like a little bonus thing, right?
Yeah, but I've definitely seen a lot of people being pissed off about that. So it's been interesting. All right, moving on to our last topic here, which is DC's planning Batman Day. Of course, let me see what the plans are. But I think what's interesting about this, so let me read them first. So you have this studio tour situation they're doing. Obviously they do the comic books and they, there's nothing here that was too crazy where I was like, wow, this is Batman Day. And I think that's honestly what I wanted to talk about. And we'll talk more about Batman as a whole, but it's just like, it's not like Free Comic Book Day where you're like getting new material. Most of the time it's just reprints and most new readers will not know this day exists and they won't get these reprints.
I think if your store does not celebrate Batman Day, then there's almost no reason for it to exist almost, My store actually does celebrate it. So they're actually having a sale on, on trades and Batman comics that day and things like that. Yeah. I think, though, they should have new material come out, like a new book or something like that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, how hard would that be? You have an entire year to come out with a particular story that surrounds Batman. It doesn't even have to be anything continuity. It could be just a one-shot or something like that,
Skimming through this, I think there's something about free digital comics somewhere. There's like different products like shoes and board books for kids and stuff like that. But I agree with you, Mike. I think release some cool new story that's not reprint, that's just, even if it's just one of those, celebratory kind of books, I would prefer something different. Like, release like a, I don't know, an oversized one-shot, really fun story with top creators or whatever. Just something cool.
Yeah. And it would be cool if it's just like Batman Day 2024, Batman Day 2025. And then you can make it like a collectible thing where it's just like, oh, look at all the Batman Day Batman comics I've collected over the years. Here's one from, it's the year 2034. Here's the one from 2027, and it's like you collect one each year. I think that would be a really neat idea and get somebody, get people excited for it. And maybe a little cliffhanger at the end of what's to come for Batman or the next big story arc or something, or a teaser, something like that to make people be like, man,
QR code.
Yeah, QR code. That'd be that's never been done before. Let's do that one.
Yeah.
No, they just haven't made it too special. That's definitely the point of that. And that brings us to our main topic. Well, go on, Brent. You go for it.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
Now going to the main topic is the idea, and we'll talk more about Exceptional X-Men. We talked a lot about X-Men titles last week on our show and ranked them. But Batman, it's been a long time since it's been very exciting. I feel like this run was very exciting in the beginning with Chip Zdarsky, and he's doing this new fail-safe character, and he's been doing it since he's been on. And obviously they're transitioning to a new Batman editor. And I don't really remember the last time I loved Batman because a lot of people say James Tynion, and I think James Tynion had the potential to excite us. But now that when I look back, it's like, oh yeah, there's so many things that were being set up that could have been cool, but there was nothing actually cool that happened in his run. And honestly, the last time I feel like I enjoyed Batman, loved Batman, was probably the beginning of Tom King's run. That was a while ago. And it's just like, oh man, I want to, obviously you had your Nightwing run and then that fizzled for a lot of people. So you had like Batman adjacent things that were interesting, but Batman himself has not been interesting in a while, which is interesting again, because X-Men has been, I feel like, finding this resurgence with Krakoa. We were talking about this, me and Brant, before the show, that for us, it was a little harder to get into because it was so dense. But this new round of X-Men titles feels fresh, but also feels old. And I've been enjoying them a lot. And Superman's another great example that I feel like that was rejuvenized with the Action Comics legacy creators jumping on, and obviously Joshua Williamson's run. So I want the same for Batman, and that kind of brings Absolute Batman. But let's hear your guys' opinion on Batman as a whole, and then we'll talk about Absolute Batman.
When it comes to Batman, for me, he's never been my favorite character because obviously I've been the Marvel guy. So I honestly did not read Batman until the New 52. And my Batman is this Batman, right? The Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo,
like a lot of people. 52.
Like, and I think a lot of people love this run, right? And that's why I bought this, because I was like, this is the Court of Owls. This is one of the best Batman stories that I've read. I've read other Batman stuff over the years now that I've been reading comics like Nightfall and, some of these other things. But I think compared to what's going on now, I've definitely read better stuff. I was not a fan of Tom King's Batman. You guys know that from the very start. Because I was the first one to jump ship. I knew like this was going to be drawn out for some reason. And then after the marriage, the supposed marriage was supposed to happen, you guys were at that point where you're like, man, this sucks. I can't believe this happened. But and I did like Tynion's run on Batman. Like I liked what he was trying to do. Introduce all these different characters, kind of make.
They just never went anywhere.
Yeah, I never really went. And I just think he had other plans too. He's so into his independent stuff. So I think it was like just very short lived. You know what I'm saying? But
I like more people want to buy his books. I think that's the thing I really appreciate with his run is that, I mean, obviously it was a big spec market, but people were like excited because there was new characters and they all look cool.
And it was 2020, right? So it's COVID. Everything is big spec. So, and then you had Punchline. She was like the next Harley Quinn. Like there was
also never lived up to expectations ever.
Exactly. But and then Chip Zdarsky's out, and it's kind of like I like the failsafe character. I think the concept of the character is pretty cool. Do I think it's kind of overutilized? Yeah. I mean, he hasn't gone away at all, but his run is like up and down. But at the same time, though, I think because of absolute power is why his Batman run exists, because it all led up into this point. And so I think he was kind of forced in a box a little bit. So, it's kind of hard, I guess. If he had full reign, I would be interested to see what he could come up with. But I want a really good writer on the character again to make me get excited for it.
Yeah, and I agree. So I was a Marvel guy too, but Batman was one of the books from DC that I actually did somewhat keep up with. So I read a lot of Batman stuff, back in the day and over the years. And I've definitely read stronger stuff than we've gotten, in recent years. But I think I agree with you, Kat. I think the last really good Batman run was the first part of Tom King's. And then, like most of Scott Snyder's run was really strong for me.
But even that, when you complain with some parts where like this arc has lasted 20 issues.
Yeah, I think no matter what, there's never going to be a perfect run when you have someone that's on a book a long time,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be, you know, peaks and valleys and that kind of thing. So, um, but yeah, it's just I want to be excited about Batman. You know, and it's just every time we get like somebody that we are excited about, it I don't know, it just doesn't quite live up to maybe our expectations are too high. I don't know what it is. Maybe we've read comics for so long that, you know, you got to do a lot to, you know, to entertain us or surprise us or whatever it is. But yeah, I want to be excited, like I was
See,
about the Court of Owls. You brought that up. That was such a phenomenal story. But go ahead, Kat.
no, I was gonna say, because I was saying my mind was saying like, oh, maybe it's impossible for a big flagship book to be everything. But then I look at something like Superman, and I'm like, that's
Yeah,
everything I want these other books to be. It's
that's
doing.
true.
I pause a little. Let me know. Oh no, we're
You're
good.
good.
But yeah, no, it's everything I want it to be because it feels old. Obviously, you have your Lois's, you have your that relationship. You have Jimmy, but
Yeah,
then they're introducing new stuff and doing stuff with Silver Banshee and Lex Luthor has a lot of layers. And every issue, I feel like every character is moving. It's not just a Superman book; it's a Lex book, it's a Lois book, and that's what I want to see from Batman and
yeah,
Spider Man.
Well, it's kind of like how I feel about Deadpool right now. It's like character's been around since the 90s. There's been a lot written about him. And what can you do with a character like Deadpool, right? You give him a good supporting cast. And
yeah,
you know, you don't make him just the one-dimensional character that is going to talk to the audience through the book, you know?
yeah,
It just you need the right writer. And I think anybody can write a character as long as they're, I would say, passionate at least about the character. You know, if they
yeah,
give two shits about the character. I don't like when they say, hey, your job is going to write this character, and they're like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it for a paycheck, and it doesn't mean anything. You know, it does. You can see,
Sure.
you can read it, and it's just like that's not the character at all. You know.
yeah,
Which is interesting because, again, we'll talk about X-Men, but the X-Men books have felt that way where everyone who's been on behind that title feels like they're passionate about it. The only one, X-Men, I still trying to see what that's about, but like Uncanny X-Men, you could tell Gail Simone's putting her whole heart and soul. We'll talk about Exceptional X-Men. No, I'm good.
I'll stick it. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know what's going on with my internet, but I was talking about Exceptional X-Men. I feel like there's
The
Man, she's
internet does not
talking,
want
man.
Kat to talk about exceptional X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exceptional of X-Men is against her. It's against her today. But
yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
she
I don't know
comes
what's
back.
No,
going on. What I was saying is that I think Gail Simone seems very dedicated to Uncanny X-Men. I'm still trying to see if the main X-Men title, where that's going, but Exceptional
yeah,
X-Men, we'll talk about later. That person knows Kitty Pryde so well, and that I feel like there's been a lot of passion behind those books, and I want to see that with everything. I agree. Like if you're pitching a book, I I want you to love those characters and want to
Right.
tell new. And again, you can tell that with Joshua Williamson's Green Arrow and Superman. Like Green Arrow in
Yeah.
particular, like there's so much lore and so much that you have to be a fan of Green Arrow to be putting into that book.
I
yeah.
mean,
And
when you look at it, that's why like indie books tend to be better because the thing is these are these people's own creations, their own stories, and you can feel that story. You know what I'm saying? When it
yeah,
comes to characters like Batman, Spider-Man, and things like that, they should be really good, but the right writers, I feel, are not on these characters, and you need somebody that's going to, but that might not be true all the way either, because
yeah.
again, an editorial has a lot to do with what goes on,
Sure.
It's hard with like those big characters like Spider-Man and Batman in particular because they're so protected. You know,
Right. And they've been around forever. So
yeah,
it's
and
like,
they're
what do you do differently?
yeah, and they're both like representing the brand, like the larger brand. These are their key characters and stuff like that. So it's really hard, but it's also like it's very subjective, and so like any writer that comes on, they're speaking to somebody, or they have a completely, even they might be passionate in a different way, and they might view this character in a completely different way than we do, and it's just I don't know. It's but I agree that the right writer has to be connected with the right character. They have to understand that character, ins and outs, know the core personality of that character, the core message of that character and stuff to be able to present that. And I think a lot of writers, try, and some writers just try to leave their stamp on the character, and that's fine too. It's just,
right.
I don't know. For me, I want a writer, like you said, Mike, to be very passionate about the character and to, honor everything that character represents, and still somehow do that with telling a creative, unique story or a unique spin on a story that is entertaining. That's all I ask.
I mean, it's like one of those.
I was going to say, Comic Nation has a really interesting take. People are overly critical about the flagship stories, in my opinion. They're possessive of the character in a way because they read for decades.
That's
I mean, that's not true. That's definitely true as well. I think there's definitely points of a character where it's like, well, who cares if they changed their hairstyle or whatever? But then there's also points where like, oh, this could be better storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, just because like, say you have a writer that's just like Jed McKay or whatever it is, and he's written Vengeance of Moon Knight. Does it mean he's going to write a good Spider-Man book? They're like, oh, you sold a great, Moon Knight book. People really loved it. So let's just give him Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know. It's just like you said, it's just like you need the right person. So I don't know, but I do think Jed McKay could write a good Spider-Man. I guess he wrote other characters.
You never know. Yeah, I say I do too, but you never know. But just because he, wrote Black Cat and knows that universe very well, so
I agree. Yeah, so that's pretty much the topic. I guess the last thing to say is what we're expecting for Absolute Batman, which is coming out in about a month or so. We're starting that lineup of all these DC books, which I'm sure we'll have a fun time talking about. And New York Comic Con's coming up, so we'll have a lot of news from there. And I feel like from DC is in particular. But yeah, Absolute Batman. I'm excited for something different. I'm, just like Ultimate Spider-Man that people have been talking about in the comments, that was allowed to do anything they wanted. I want to see the same thing with Batman and Wonder Woman, and I'm excited just to read like new comics every week. That's really cool too. That's what I loved about New 52 and some of the other initiatives DC did, where it's like, oh, I want to try out this book and this book and this book.
Yeah. And with the Absolute books, this is an opportunity to do something completely different with these characters, because this is a different universe. The rules aren't the same. I'm hoping this is kind of like, the Ultimate treatment, right? So we're going to get something just completely different and unique and fun, and maybe a little bit darker, which that's kind of the vibe you get from it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that line of books.
Absolutely. Totally excited about it. This is good. It's always good to be excited about a new initiative of, when it comes to a company doing something, because you're like, oh, let's hope like they turn the corner or get better. And for, years now, we've been missing certain series from DC, and it looks like they're trying to, improve, get better. And we always want them to succeed. That's always the number one thing. We want comics to last forever.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. And I was saying this before the show, but it's fun to see my pull in particular grow a little bit. Because I'm like, oh, I'm actually keeping this book on my pull list. Like, I try a lot of issue ones, but they don't tend to stick there. So it's been nice to enjoy a good amount of big two books. I hope Absolute Absolute Batman, Absolute, all the other ones are the same. What's your most anticipated Absolute title when it comes to the Trinity?
Batman for me.
Excited for Wonder Woman because Kelly Thompson is writing it.
I'm thinking
Superman. I don't remember who's doing.
I don't remember who's writing Superman. That's what I was trying to remember.
Let's say Absolute Superman is.
I'm excited for Batman because he's so like.
Because everybody hates his costume.
He's so like he's completely opposite from everything, and people are like, "Well, he's Batman. He's not. He's supposed to be this." And this is a different universe, dude. Like anything goes. Remember? Like stop criticizing a Batman that's supposedly supposed to be different.
And Scott Snyder's back on it. I want to know why he's back at DC, because he kind of really said like I want to go back to that. In so many interviews, he's like, that was always the worst time for writing, was when I felt like I couldn't do anything. And I had so many ideas and I was like pigeonholed. So I'm really curious to see what this Batman run's going to be. Someone mentioned that Jason Aaron's doing the Superman stuff, which I liked his Bizarro story. I thought was pretty cool, but I would say Batman and Wonder Woman I'm most excited for. Mostly, I mean, as a fan, I'm more of a Batman fan, so I'm sure I'll be connected to that. But Wonder Woman just looks so different, which looks cool too. And again, I can't say no to Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, and it's the same for me. I really like Kelly Thompson, and it's something different. I'm very curious about the Batman one too, and I like that Bizarro story as well. So I'm excited for all three of them, but I think the Wonder Woman one has me the most intrigued.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I know there's other absolute stuff coming out too that I just don't remember. Yeah. But those are from the Trinity.
Right.
Cool. Let's jump into this week's comics then.
Yeah, let's do it. Time for comics. There's a lot of comics out this week. I felt there was a lot of decent ones. I had a tough time putting together a top 5 group.
Me too.
But I feel like I picked good ones, and I know I'll probably have one or maybe one or two that might not be in your guys. But I think we're going to kick it off. Let's kick it off with Scarlet issue 4. Brant and I read this particular series. And thank you, Kat, Mike, and Brant, for taking the time to do this each week. It adds the fun of the Comic Book Wednesday that much more. Our pleasure, Joseph. We love doing this show. If we did not love doing this show,
we wouldn't do it.
We wouldn't be doing it, because we've been doing it forever. And that's not a bad thing. We've been doing it like at least 10 years. So,
it's make the comics more fun for us too, because I feel like you can read a comic and be like, that was really good, and just kind of forget about it. But when we get to discuss it, it's like, oh yeah, you could like kind of peel the onion a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And you know, we appreciate that too, that you're enjoying, you know, us talking about some comics.
I know. We're glad that we could help you not watch the debate too.
That too. Yeah. You're welcome.
So we're going to talk about Scarlet issue 4. I feel this is, listen, we're just talking about Kelly Thompson. Okay. And she's the one that writes this Scarlet book. And for me, this is not a bad book. This is a good book, but it's a book that is my least favorite when it comes to the Energon universe. I feel like it doesn't even tie into the Energon universe. It's more like just a Scarlet story trying to rescue Jinx. And we do get some good emotion in this comic book on how much she cares for her. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's okay. Like, am I going to remember this book when this series is done, type of thing?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel the same way. I think in this issue, at least we finally got Cobra coming into the mix. So there is a little bit of you know, tie-in with the other stuff there. But this issue in particular too, I thought was the weakest issue of the series so far, and it's the penultimate issue.
Right.
It felt a little rushed, I guess is the right word, and you still very strongly get like Black Widow vibes from Scarlet here. It just feels like this could have been a Black Widow story.
That's what I said from the very beginning.
I
know
what
it feels like,
and that's what I liked about it at the beginning. But I feel like going forward, I would have liked to have seen more of Scarlet come through in that, and I don't feel like I've gotten that quite. I love seeing Storm Shadow. I love seeing the Rashikagi clan and all of that. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does tie into the Cobra and what you know, where loyalties lie with Storm Shadow and all that stuff in the final issue. But yeah, I would have to agree with you that this is probably the weakest of the Energon universe so far. That said, it's not a bad book. I still enjoy it. I love the characters. It's not badly written. The art is fine. It's just, it's the least of that group of titles. So.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
The Watcher X, have you guys been reading Last Ronin 2? I have not, but I don't know if you guys are continuing.
I read the
Yeah, no
first
last
issue and I'm
Roman.
like, I'm not reading any more of this.
Yeah,
So
same.
Okay, so let's go on to Absolute Power issue 3. All three of us have read this.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm going to say about this event as a whole is that I would almost feel like it would benefit if they added another issue, because they try to pack in so much in this comic book and so much actually happens that it's like you better be paying attention because you can miss something in this comic book.
I feel like so much happens that it almost feels like nothing happens because they're trying to fit so many characters.
Right.
It's just like there's
Yeah.
so many characters in this book. Is it bad? No, like you were saying, Mike, you could pick up on stuff and be like, well, this character's doing this. They're trying to do whatever. But yeah, I think sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. I agree. I kind of wish the tie-ins did a better job at like expanding the thoughts that are actually happening in the event, and then B, just maybe being a little tighter. I would love to have an issue that just focuses on Nightwing instead of like 20 other characters at the same time.
Yeah, I wish that this was in that vein. It was more like Blackest Night. So where all those things happened in this issue, they continued in like, you know, Nightwing or et cetera, Green Arrow, et cetera. We get a little bit of that here and there, specifically Green Arrow, like Canary's story and all that stuff. But yeah, it's not enough. There was so much. I agree with both of you. There was so much going on in this issue. It's hard to like remember every single little thread, but there was like some emotional moments in here. There were, you know, a lot of action heavy stuff. There was story progression, so there was a lot going on. But it was just
It's like, for instance, like you got the Brainiac Queen that invades Themyscira with John, and the John situation with him becoming a cyborg or like the Brainiac Queen because she's controlling him seems like a very pivotal, I can't talk.
Pivotal,
situation, right? That happens in the comic, and that you would think that would be a big thing, but it's resolved within that issue, not only with like him, but the Brainiac Queen as well. She was such a huge threat in this series, and now just like that, she's gone. And it's like, damn, really? And it's just like, and it's just like they lost their edge so quickly. And it looks like obviously the heroes now are you know, getting back in control again, you know, because this is wrapping up very shortly, right? Like how many issues is this?
I think there's 2 more. Maybe, I think it's a 5-issue mini.
Yeah, it's quick. And this was issue 3, right?
You're right.
Yeah, let me actually look.
I think you're right. I think it is 5.
It is officially 4?
4. So there's only one more issue?
Wow.
So so that's why they popped that one in. That's why I said it. This could have been another issue or maybe even 2. You know?
This needed 6, I think.
Which is so weird because we never say that about events. We're like, let it end. But this one, we're like, no, we want more.
You do such a like grand scope of an event like this one where it affects so many people and so many books that I think the main event needs to breathe a little bit more, you know?
Right. I agree with that.
It doesn't need to be 12. Doesn't need to be 10.
No.
God, give it at least like give it at least 5.
I think 6.
Yeah, at least needed 5, but 6 would be preferable. But at the same time, it was good. Like the art is outstanding. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
You know, and like you said, you mentioned the John thing that, you know, really strong scene with them getting through to him and kind of, you know, turning him back in a way, and the you know, him connecting with can't think. Superman.
Not just his dad.
Wow. Yeah, his dad. Yeah. God. What is wrong with me at night? But yeah, just, you know, stuff like that. And there was like a little moments with Nightwing, like I said. Different characters had little spotlight moments in this issue. So it was a solid issue, but it was, again, very rushed.
Why does DC want my boy to suffer 24/7? I look, he's been suffering a lot, but I mean, it's a good story. If everyone's happy all the time, that's no fun either. I think there's a balancing act. Obviously, you want to see John happy sometimes, but I do think you need a little trauma, a little drama to make a superhero comic good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what's this say? I'm getting tired of events and all the tie-ins. LOL, it's too much. I skipped Absolute Power and Venom War. Believe it or not, I can understand Venom War. I can understand it. I think
skippable.
The second issue of Venom War was better than the first one. But I think you do not need to read all of the books, not even close to it, to get anything out of it,
No.
So, all right, let's move on. Let's talk about the book. Exceptional X-Men issue 1. So last week at this time, we wound up getting people saying you won't believe what will happen in this book, and and
let me tell you all the things that happened. I could believe.
And just all these different things. And so when we read it, or when I read it, I was like, there's nothing new in this comic book that we already did not know. Right? She has been bisexual forever. Like, we've seen it since Marauders. And we know the history of the character anyway from Chris Claremont himself, of what his intentions was from Kitty Pryde. So in that aspect of it, I don't get why people were so crazy about that.
There was a lot of people that I saw who were more like, I didn't see it in the issue because it was so like under the rug. They're like, what do you mean? Why is everyone saying she's bisexual? I don't like, it wasn't in the issue. I'm like, yeah, it was. Like she says the pronoun of her date, but it was interesting. That was a lot of people's problem too, where they're like, everyone's saying she's bisexual, came out of nowhere because it's not in the issue. I'm like, it's like in the issue. But honestly, something I was really happy to see, because obviously there's been a lot of queer announcements for different characters. People get pissed. There's so much homophobia out there about it. For Kitty, I've seen it a lot less, which I was really happy to see. I just like, there's obviously the few in between, they're kind of assholes about it, but most people are like, yeah, I know, and kind of move forward.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were upset about the book because I know nothing happened. They're just like, well, it's just a book where she is, working as a barista and she's serving drinks and she's doing this and she's doing that, and she's crying and she has anxiety and she's depressed, and how is a superhero?
Oh, you mean she's human and relatable?
Like
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling us the character who we were supposed to relate to as a child is now a millennial that we can relate to as an adult. That's like the thing that I thought was so beautiful about this book. It's like, oh, she's like us. And I thought that was great.
But it shows you that just because she's a hero, does that mean that she's not vulnerable or can't suffer? Right? I mean, look at the stuff that she went through towards the end of the Krakoan run. Right?
She
died. She died. She killed people like crazy. And she did it because she was doing it to protect her family, her ex-family. And now she wanted to get away from it all. I feel like that there was nothing wrong with that, and then she realized that she has this higher power or whatever it is that she needs to help people again. Like, she comes across, what's her name? Is it Bronze? Is that the
I think that's
so.
Yeah. And so she's being bullied, whatever the case may be, and she feels like she needs to help them. And that's kind of the inklings of a team being formed here. And then you get Emma at the end of it as well. And like, I get it. I understand people are used to, reading these team books and it's the X-Men and you want to see this action and adventure, but not every book has to be that way. That's why you have X-Men. That's why you have Uncanny X-Men. That's why you have X-Force. You have all these different books, because if this is not the book for you, then go read the other X-Men book. That's why they have all these different books out there.
And if you're a Kitty Pryde fan, you're gonna know that this is so in the vein of Kitty. Like, if you've read her for a very long time, like Micah said, did Kitty work for a coffee shop. She was a bartender, and actually that comes from a previous book that Chris Claremont wrote, that she was a bartender. So I saw people complaining about that too, where it's like, well, she's a bartender now. I'm like, yeah, because she has been a bartender before. And if you read Wolverine and the X-Men, which is one of the most popular X-Men books out there, she goes back to Deerfield. She goes back home. Like anytime something bad happens to her, she tends to go back home and try to have a normal life. And I think something that was really cool about this book is that, again, goes back to the relatability of the character. But we were talking about this at Spider-Man a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, oh, why doesn't Spider-Man just go on a dating app and like, let's see what that looks like? And I love that we actually got to see that here, where it felt very modern. It felt like, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. Maybe this would be the worst date ever, but let's see what happens. And I like that. I like that she has a friend that was a childhood friend, that doesn't seem like there is phobic to mutants, but is human. I think there's so many elements here that makes this an interesting book. And for people who are upset for depressed Kitty, I think the moral of the story is going to be that these kids that she used to be, this fun-loving kid, is going to affect her life to be better. I think that it's written on the wall. That's going to be the theme of this book. It's like, look at these wide-eyed kids, and she's going to learn from them. So like, I honestly, I mean, for me, obviously, as a huge Kitty Pryde fan, I thought this was a perfect book. And honestly, I haven't been this excited for a Marvel book in such a long time, because the art was good. The storytelling was good. It showed that the creators loved this character. There's promise for Emma Frost. Like, I thought it was a great book. And the new characters seem interesting.
Yeah. I also love that, like, normal things that would happen to like any of us, she got the day wrong for her date, and she ends up you know with nothing to do, and then encounters Bronze because of it, and all this stuff. Is just, it was very relatable, very character driven. Kitty had been, like you said, Mike, had been through so much from the Krakoa stuff and everything, and if you look back at her journey from as a kid, from her training with Wolverine, go to Astonishing X-Men, where she, really builds this relationship with Emma, first contentious and then respect, and then, go on from there to Marauders and all that stuff, and to now. And you can see this whole journey of her kind of discovering herself. And now she's back in this place trying to figure out what's next for me after everything that went crazy wrong with Krakoa. And
it didn't matter either. Like, she saw, there's a really beautiful scene in this issue where she sits in bed and she's like, did any of it matter? I sacrificed so much and nothing has changed. And I thought that was a really poignant scene as well.
Yeah. It's a good book. I even like how we got away from the Kate Pride, and it was just like, no, she's the name is Kitty.
Yeah.
And that is good. And I wanted to see other reviews, because there were so many people dogging on this book after I read it. And one person, of course, I'm not going to say channel's name, but one person dogged it because Eve Ewing is putting out all this stuff, like she's bisexual, and it's her working in a bar, and then they even pointed out that she's wearing her Jewish star around her neck,
which is
and it's
also connected to her character.
That's part of her religion, and there's that Jewish representation. And as a person that is married to a Jewish woman, right? I'm Catholic, but my wife is Jewish. I appreciated that, because you don't get that representation in comics all that often. So for them to show that, I thought that was kind of cool, so I just, like, you're really going to get something like that, like, and call a comic book dumb because of that? It just doesn't make sense.
People want to complain just for the sake of complaining when it comes to this. Because again, like Tim, I will state that I think it made sense for the character. I don't think they followed through with it. I think there's elements that could have been better with the Tim story, but there's any freaking character that is a known character to end up being queer and seeing her life as a queer person. It's freaking Kitty Pryde. Like, it's like that character makes so much sense. And again, that's why I was happy to see that maybe more people are being a little bit more progressive, or people are just like, yeah, we knew this already. But I actually was happy to see there wasn't as much hate as I was expecting.
Right. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it was a Kitty Pryde central type of issue. She's going to be the leader of this team. It's like, this is the book for people also that may have never read her before. So this is a good jumping on point for this character. And then you got to see the other character that's going to be part of the team. And then you're going to see the other characters that are going to be part of the team. And then eventually it's going to be the whole team, and then they're going to do their stuff. And so this is just the way it starts. And like I said, if this is not the X book for you, then read some of the other ones, right? That's what you can expect.
I real quick, I also love that it's a callback both to, like, for Emma, both to Generation X and to Astonishing X-Men. And, you know, it's just kind of her thing, her path to kind of bring up, you know, young mutants and kind of guide them in her, you know, way, which is different than anybody else's. And she's just become such a strong central character to the X-Men in general. And I love that pairing when you have Emma and Kitty together. And I think it's just going to get better and better from here. But I thought it was a really strong issue. Yeah.
Tevia asks about that, actually. Do you believe Kitty and Emma Frost will become a couple? No, from what I've been seeing, and I don't know that this is true, but from what I've seen, supposedly next issue, they are going to reveal who her girlfriend's going to end up being. And honestly, I think it's the person she's going on a date with. I think it's going to be a normal person, and they're going to go along for the ride. That's and honestly, if that happens, that's going to be so much fun. Like, I think something I really liked about this era of X-Men is that every X-Men book is always like, humans hate mutants, and there's no line between it. I like this era's done a little bit better of a job of like, yeah, there's a lot of people that are don't like mutants, but there's other people who don't really care. And I'm curious to see that as well. And if that's told through Kitty's point of view, that's great. And it ends up being like this app thing that's also very modern and very relatable. Most people do meet on apps. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool that this mutant, Kitty Pryde, like one of the biggest X-Men, meets a random girl on an app and it ends up working out. Yeah. Like, I think that's a cool story. And that has not been done in a superhero context.
This app means something, though, in this book, because it's just like, if you paid attention to what the app was, it was like, get your, I don't know, specimen or something here. So it almost sounded like a Mr. Sinister thing. Mr. Sinister. Yeah,
it could be.
Like, get everything done here. Just give me your blood sample. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So this is your app for everything. So interesting. All right. So good talk right there. So with that being said, let's move on to our number 5. So what was your number 5, Kat?
The Ultimates, issue 4. I think this is one of the stronger issues compared to, like, I liked issue 1 a lot. I think that was my favorite. But this one dives into more what I expected this book to be, the Fantastic Four and that background. So I don't think this is the best issue of the series, but this felt more to what they're building for the Ultimate Universe. And honestly, the Fantastic Four is more interesting in this point of view because, again, they have so much to do with the mythology of this universe.
Yeah, I agree.
I do want to real quick. I do want to mention KG's comic. What if her date is a guy? Will people be disappointed? I mean, no, because that's what bisexuality is. But the comic did say it was a girl.
It did.
Yeah, it was a her.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimates.
Go ahead, Mike.
Ultimates was great. I thought it was a fun issue. To read. I was just like so involved in it. It was just so interesting to see the story of the Fantastic Four in this one and what Reed went through and why the Maker calls him Doom and just the torture that he went through was just, it was so unbearable. And now you kind of know, like, Doom in this world has this mission, this MO to, get back at the Maker or whatever it is. And it's just, he's so driven by that, but it was so sad in so many ways too. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of Noto's artwork. He did the which book did he did X-Men books, right? And so I was just like, it always feels very like stiff and whatnot, but nevertheless, the story was phenomenal.
I read some reviews about this book, and people were confused. Some people were confused by this book, and I don't know why, because it seemed very clear what was happening. You had was it 4 stories or 4 like periods of time, chronologically going throughout the issue. So it was pretty easy to follow for me, but it was a really good story. I was like on the verge with Ultimates. Do I keep going with this? And I think this one kind of kept me on the hook a little bit, because learning the history of what happened to the Fantastic Four and how tragic that was, and like you said, Micah, Reed's story in that as well was just it was a pretty powerful issue. So
Right.
I love the way that they kind of shaped what's going on with this team, and also like the stuff with Iron Lad and Doom, their interactions and kind of going back and forth. I like those scenes as well. So
I also just like them focusing on different things, because like again, the first
that's
issue is
true
Ant-Man,
too,
and then last issue is She-Hulk. So if you don't like one issue, you might like the next issue.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think this is just all going to lead up to when the Maker returns, because at the end of each issue, it's like 14 months until the Maker returns, 13 months until the Maker returns.
Exactly.
So every issue, you're going to get some kind of different story there.
Yeah.
All right.
So drop that issue 1. Gonna pick up when Ultimate Hawkeye shows up. He looks so dope. I think he has his own series, right? I thought he had his own miniseries, but maybe he's just showing up here.
He is in his own series.
Yeah, I thought he had his own series.
Yeah.
This is an interesting comparison as well. So anybody that's watched Game of Thrones, Theon, I could see that comparison. That dude went through some stuff in Game of Thrones.
All right, Barry, what was your number 5?
My number 5 was Plastic Man No More. This one actually really surprised me.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. I don't know if either. I talked about this on Friday first, but I don't know if either one of you have seen the show. I think it's an AMC show called Kevin Can F Himself.
I saw the pilot for it.
No, I didn't see it.
It's a really interesting concept where it's half sitcom and half drama. So when it's from the husband's perspective, it becomes a sitcom. And when it's from the wife's perspective, it becomes a drama because she's very unhappy in her marriage. And it's just, I've never seen that done before, but we kind of got that here, where when he's with the Justice League, it's all happy. It's all like 60s, television, Super Friends kind of stuff. And then when you switch to him alone, it's very dark and grim, and everything he's going through, nobody's listening to him. Nobody understands him. So I really love that contrast. It's just an interesting storytelling technique that kind of pulled me into the story, and him dealing with like dying and stuff. It just, I thought it was a really, really strong first issue.
I also thought it was really interesting. If you don't know anything about Plastic Man, you learn a lot about him. And I knew the bare minimum about the character. So I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm jumping into this world. And Cantwell does a really good job at that. These like B-list, C-list characters that he loves, and just making them these really emotional stories. Again, Hellcat, me and Brant love that book. And he does the same here. The art's good. I wasn't surprised how much I liked it because it was Christopher Cantwell. And there's a really good emotional story. There's a good through line with him dying because of his powers. I think it's going to be a really solid book. And I've been really liking the Black Label titles because they're so character driven, and they're not these like big magazine sizes anymore, which is very helpful to pick up.
Absolutely.
I was laughing because originally when I picked it up, 1, I didn't realize it was a Black Label book. And then 2, I saw the artwork inside when I was showing it off in my hall. I'm like, oh, this could be a cool kid's book. And then like 2 pages in, he's like, he's the bad guy, calls the Justice League a bunch of assholes. I'm like, well, there's not that. It's not for the kids anymore, So, but it was good. It was very emotional. Father-son moments were very emotional. Just learning about the history of the character was great, because I'm in that same boat with Kat. I didn't know anything really about Plastic Man, And so when I got done reading this, I'm like, man, I'm looking forward to issue 2. So I was really excited for it. All right. My number 5 is Spawn. Can you guys hear? I just like.
Yep, you're good.
You froze for a second, but Spawn issue 356. That
That book was really good because we get introduced. I call her like Angela 2.0 because she is a character that is crossbred between heaven and hell. I've told you guys about how they have these dead zones that have eliminated the powers of all the Spawn characters and all supernatural characters. But since she's a crossbred between the two, she still has her powers. And then we get to learn the origin story of her, where she came from, who her dad was, how she developed these powers. And she's telling it to Spawn. And then the artwork by Brett Booth is absolutely phenomenal. And I find it really interesting, really good that 350 something issues in, and we're still developing interesting characters in this series. So, it gets me excited for the next issue. So I really liked it. All right. So let's move on. I think Brant and I are going to talk about Batman issue 152.
Oh, did I not mark that down?
No, did you read it?
Yeah, Batman.
Brant. Oh,
I think you're Rook.
We all did. I was looking at the one above.
You're looking at Rook, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, did I not read Batman?
Batman 152. I don't know. I like the last issue better than this particular issue. They're basically get the mother box. They escape from Darkseid. Did you not find it weird that Catwoman didn't know who Darkseid was?
That was odd. Yeah. That was
I also
really
thought
weird.
the art was really off for this book too. It was hard to get into.
It's not good art. Not compare. I don't feel like you can have an artist like Jorge Jimenez and then get Hawthorne, I think is the artist on this one. And just it's not even comparable. It's like jarring almost, I think it's Mike Hawthorne that does the art there. Yeah. And so it's not that it's bad art. It's just so different from the art that you're used to seeing. Right. But Catwoman was like, what's going on? And Batman's like, it's Darkseid. You don't want to be next to him. And it's like, come on. You're in the DC universe. You don't know who this guy is? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was just odd that she wouldn't know who Darkseid was. Everybody should know who Darkseid is at this point.
Exactly. So, even the humans know who Darkseid is.
Yeah, I did like that scene where Darkseid's just standing there smiling as they're running.
Yeah.
I love that scene. But I agree, this issue was just okay for me. It was fine. It was very point A to B. Like you said, stop the, get the brain box, escape, yada yada. But that did kind of lend is the word I was trying to say, to what we were talking about last week with the Darkseid stuff. And so we'll see where that goes.
It just makes me also just not. Was this tie-in necessary? It goes back to I don't think they're utilizing their tie-ins well enough. It goes back to Batman's not exciting me anymore. I think they could have done more with the relationship with Catwoman, Batman, if anything, and that kind of felt hollow. Yeah. It was just kind of there.
Right.
It did leave off in a nice spot where they had a little, time to the beach to spend a little time together for a minute. But
just like in Green Arrow, they went to the beach too before the whole thing happened.
Beach is magical.
Yeah.
At least Green Arrow makes sense because the beach has a lot to do with Green Arrow.
Right. Green Arrow is completely different. Green Arrow is a great series.
Yeah. If you didn't read Tom King's run, you don't know what the beach means to Batman.
No, it was very Tom King heavy, honestly, this issue, because obviously it's about their relationship.
Right.
All right, let's talk about. All right, Brant and I are going to talk about Venom War issue 2, and we're also going to talk about Exodus. So, Venom War issue 2. I actually found this book fun to read because of the action that was in it, and it actually now makes sense why Zombiotes is part of this tie-in because he mentions it in the book. That he's released all his little zombiotes and they're going to take over the world and all this other stuff. And then you get Misery, who's Liz Allen, that's involved in this situation. And then you get Spider-Man, who's going to hold on to the black suit symbiote because of what's going on with the Eddie Brocks from the future. and you get this crazy ass scene where Eddie eats himself and he becomes freaking huge and gigantic.
Yeah.
And then you got Dylan who teams up with Sleeper, and there's another
Normie?
one. Huh?
Yeah, Red Goblin, I think. Or,
Was it? I don't even know. But now he calls
I don't
himself
know.
the Prince in Black.
Prince in Black. Yeah.
I was laughing at the end of it because this reminded me of like a 90s like comic book. And and it all takes place in a wrestling arena. And I'm like, why is this in a wrestling arena? But this particular issue, like, I didn't take it seriously.
No,
I didn't go too deep into it, and I just had fun with this one.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I actually did like last issue a little better story wise, but as far as just like fun, enjoying it, enjoying the absurdity, I totally get what you're saying with this one, because that just is what it was. Like, Eddie's like, okay, you're going to keep Venom, then I'm just going to step into Bedlam and wear him as a costume and just, attack you with that. And then, like you said, he ate the other two versions of himself and became this big, giant, massive.
He's like jacked. It's like
crazy.
It was like a wrestling match. That's what they're going for here.
Yeah, and like Spider-Man's wearing chains. It's just crazy visuals.
Isn't it like book. Crusher Hogan, the one that's doing the announcing in there?
Yes. Yeah. And there was this little moment where Spidey was like, "Nice to see you again, Crusher."
Yeah.
Let me get back to you.
There were some moments in there. So it's not bad.
I also like how the Venom War Spider-Man book left off right, as far as Spider-Man's part, right at the beginning of Venom War issue 2. So it led right into it for him.
Yeah, so, that's what that
nice little continuity there.
That tie-in is so loosely connected, but it all takes place right before,
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. So there's that one. And then we got Rook Exodus issue 5. There's just nothing that I cannot say enough good things about this comic book. This book is really, really good. Just so many awesome things. I mean, you got Rook who falls off of the mountaintop, or like what's the words I'm looking for here? Waterfall. Yeah, waterfall. He falls off the waterfall. You think that he was gonna die, and he gets rescued by Pumbaa, who is the big boar from Swine, and he's like, "Wait, man, you talk?" And he's like, "Yeah," but it was all just like a hallucination.
Yeah.
And it's just like, then he had this like kind of like this epiphany, like once he put his helmet on, just reliving things that have happened, things that happened in the farm, whether his father burnt it down or it naturally burnt down. What is the real thing here? Is he a runner? Is he going to stay? Like, what's he going to do? So he's dealing with all these things in his thoughts after he just fell off this waterfall. Just very, again, you talk about how Kitty Pryde's issue is very centered around her. This one was very centered around about Rook.
Yeah.
We do have a quick question. Are you guys picking up Hyde Street? I know I'm picking up all the issue ones for the Ghost Machine. Ironically, when I read that Ghost Machine one shot, the latter ones were the ones I enjoyed more. So I was like, those are the ones I'm more excited for, actually.
Yeah. So I'm excited for Hyde Street as well. This was it was an interesting like fever dream, because he, obviously he was out of it after that fall, and listening to pigs talk and birds talk and all this crazy stuff, and like you said, reliving all this while he's just kind of out of it. But the epiphany you mentioned, like, he realizes that he needs to open his emotions and his fears and all that stuff to the birds and connect with them on that level instead of just trying to control them, and that kind of changed things for him ultimately. While this was I don't know how to word this. It's my least favorite issue of the run so far, but that's not to say I didn't like it or it was bad or anything. It was still phenomenal. But you know what I'm saying? Because it was just this kind of dream state kind of thing. Right. I'm not a huge fan of dream state stories.
Correct.
But
it didn't really do anything to progress the overall plot of the story, but what it did was it did progress the character to get him out of this funk that he's in.
Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say it talked about how he was always focusing on fight or flight when he could do fight and flight, and basically he decided I got to stop running from my problems and I got to stay and help the animals and the people on this planet instead of trying to escape it. So I like that conclusion he came to. But go ahead, Kat.
I was gonna say the Watcher is asking, who's your favorite character from Rook so far?
This is hard.
Yeah.
I do like Rook because he is the main character, so you know the most about him. So it almost makes sense. I like the mystery of Direwolf. You know, I want to know more about her in the relationship that these two had before all this went down. She's a very good looking character. She's very sexy in the book. I love the villain. The Ursaw villain, he's very menacing. He's bad. He just seems like this pure evil, right? And then you have the supporting cast of Warlords that you don't know anything about, but Jason Fabok brings these characters with life with his phenomenal artwork that it just gets you so excited for everything that's going to go on in this comic. So there's just a lot to look forward to here.
Yeah, and even though he's gone now, I like Swine and that he was like Rook's best friend basically.
Yeah.
And just the designs of each one of these characters is just really cool, and really each one of them is unique, very identifiable. Direwolf, I think, is really interesting. She's visually a really cool character, but also there's there's things she knows that he doesn't know. Like you said, she's very mysterious and she's keeping it very close to the vest, and you want to know more about her. Ursaw, I want to know like his backstory. Like,
oh my god, you could make a comic book on that guy.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to that point. Hopefully, they'll reveal that. But
you see that poster page when it's done and it's a poster, the verses. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But and then in the very last page when it describes Pumbaa, it's just like now they're like inseparable friends, you know? So I thought that was him and Rook. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And he's got Swine's helmet too. So I assume we're going to get a new Swine, or maybe he's going to do both. Who knows?
Oh, that could be interesting. Yeah, that could be what happens if Rook does get to the point where he can't control those birds anymore. And then he dons the helmet, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's such a fun book.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So we talked about all those, and let's go on to our number 4. So Kat, you haven't talked in a while. So what's your number 4?
So much Rook, so much Venom. But mine is Minor Arcana, issue 1. New Jeff Lemire book. It was good. I felt like we got sucked into the characters pretty well, where we get to learn about her background with her mom. Her mom runs a psychic shop. She's like, all right, yeah, that's just kind of like a fake thing. And then by the end, she realizes maybe it's not so fake. And I think they built the town well. They built the character well. So I definitely gave me enough to read issue 2.
I'm right there with you. This was my number 4 as well.
Nice.
I really love Jeff Lemire's writing. I think he really knows how to put like suspense, horror, supernatural, like all together in a comic book, and his art style is unique, right? And I think for certain books it works and certain books it doesn't, and I think this is going to be one of those books that it does. This kind of reminds me of the last series that he wrote. I forgot the hell what the name of it was,
Phantom
where
Road?
he had the 7 people come together in this large apartment building.
I don't
right?
think I read that.
And it was drawn by Andrea Sorrentino as well. And I totally forgot the name of it. God dang. But at the end of this book, you got to see a building as well. And
somebody in the comments said Tenet.
What was it?
Tenet?
Yeah, Tenet. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yep. And so at the end of this one, you got to see a building kind of like that. I'm like, what's this building? But it is, I think it's going to go in this weird place, and we'll see what kind of powers she develops as time goes along.
Is Jeff Lemire still working at Image? Because I don't think Phantom Road has ended. Yeah, this is just a boom book from Jeff Lemire, but I think Jeff Lemire is still doing Phantom Road. I think that's just on a break.
Yeah,
I'm disagreeing with you guys because it wasn't for me.
I'm not surprised though, Brant.
Yeah,
you tend not to like his indie books.
Yeah,
I know, right? It's so weird.
But too, I think for you also, Brant, like a lot of ways, like it's just, I think this is going to fall more in line of maybe that horror type of thing. And these books never really tend to go your way. I'm going to get something real quick, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. And I didn't love the art style here either. I know, he's done other books for whatever reason, just on every level. This book, it just didn't quite live up to what I was hoping it would be, I guess. So yeah, it just wasn't for me, which is fine. I'm not saying it was a bad book or a bad read. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I won't be continuing with it.
Yeah, you didn't like Phantom Road, and I feel like that's a very similar tone as well. It's just a very similar book. So, and anytime he doesn't do the art for Phantom Road, but the artist who works on it does have a similar vibe. It's also like, I'm not saying that you just like small town stuff, but it's very small town. It's just very similar to his other books.
The setting,
you like Jeff Lemire?
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like he did like Essex. I think he illustrated that as well as like Canadian hockey and all that stuff, and it fit that. I guess I was looking for a different kind of vibe from this book that I didn't get.
Yeah, you remember Trillium? Oh yeah,
Maze book was amazing. But Trillium, that was a cool book. Like I don't know why, but his weird just works for me, and I always just tend to enjoy his books.
It works for a lot of people. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. So I didn't like
just
either
like
one
Rook's
of those
not for
either,
me.
So.
It just happens.
Exactly. So
yeah, it's wild. All right, so
I think
so we gotta go to Brant's number 4.
Absolute Power. So we already talked about that.
Okay, cool. All right, let's dive forward here. Let's go on to number 3. Number 3.
I think Duck and Cover we didn't talk about.
Oh, Plastic Man, we didn't Duck and Cover. Oh, Ultimates, yeah. So Duck and Cover, this was a Comixology book, right? It was released in parts, and now this has come together to make one, like it's all like a trade, right? And so Scott Snyder wrote this book.
So real quick, if anybody has Comixology Unlimited, you can get the entire volume for free.
Oh, wow.
So I actually did that. So because I forgot
that
to
makes
pick it up.
So
I mean,
look, I don't think I love American Vampire. You guys know that. I love American Vampire. I think these are the elements I don't like about American Vampire. Is very I like the history of that series, but this is very historical. I particularly didn't think the characters were very likable. It was hard to get into. I want to like this series a lot more than I did.
I'm very much on the fence on this one because, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, Brant and Kat, but the characters were just like the story. It took forever to get into the story, and I'm just like, there was no character here where I felt like I could really get attached to him. I'm like, do I really like this guy? Do I really like this girl? Do I care that this guy wants to be a director and filming? And I'm just like, where are we going with this? And then
the film was visually interesting, but other than that,
right at the end, it finally got to where it needed to get to, and I'm just like, that's cool, but I'm like, do I want to keep going with it? Right?
Yeah. So real quick, somebody asked how many issues. You said you think 3. This issue was 56 pages, right? The whole thing is 112 pages. So
okay, so probably. I think it probably would be 3. Yeah.
Right. I feel very much the same way. I feel like the early part when they were kids and we were learning about them, I felt more connected to them. I was more interested in the kid wanting to be a director and all that. But as they aged up, I became less connected to them in a weird way. Like I kind of like the two friends Ollie, I think is the one's name. I can't Dell. I think it's Dell and Ollie. Dell's the director guy, and Ollie was the one obsessed with the conspiracy theories and all that. I kind of like them, but I'm not totally connected with them anymore. And they're, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. And I get what you both are saying. It's really hard to, I don't know.
You know what
Feel
Scott
what
Snyder
they're
always
feeling.
tends to do. He's
Yeah.
he's very exposition heavy. So
True.
in
There
some
was
books,
a lot.
it's fine. And in this book, I felt like it just wasn't needed. It really wasn't. You know.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure who was narrating because they mentioned at one point that they're in the yellow car watching all this go down, and I don't think we ever, at least not in this issue, ever got to see who exactly was telling the story here. So I don't know how they're connected to these characters we're following. And then when it gets into the actual story where the thing happens,
Yeah.
it's like you're led to believe it's one thing. I already knew it was probably going to be the other thing, and I just lost my earbud. So, yeah, it was. I think that kind of took me out of it a little bit, getting into basically War of the Worlds, which makes sense, and it's in the 50s. It's a interesting story to tell, that kind of thing. So, but I'm kind of on the fence with it. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to feel about where the story's going or the characters, any of that. So,
Right.
very conflicted.
I'm probably not getting the next issue, but
I understand.
Yeah.
That.
I'm very much on the fence. I think it might determine on the week if I
Yeah.
pick it up or not.
Well, since I've got the whole volume, I mean,
why not?
digitally, I'll probably read it, but you know.
All right. Well, let's move on to our number 3 now. Let's see. What was my number 3? Mine was The Ultimates. So that was my number 3. Brant, what was yours?
Mine was actually Rook.
Cool. And Kat?
Mine was Plastic Man. We already talked about it.
Okay, cool. All right. So now we're going to move on. I am surprised you guys read this, the Justice Society of America. I
want to finish it off.
I have it, but it's like they come out so far and few between. It's just like I like will maybe read it when it's all done because I'm tired of like waiting for it to come out. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's not much here. It used to be a story about Huntress, and now the Legion of Superheroes are here. You could tell that the next series, it's not. It's fillerish.
Yeah, I'm done. I think
there's only one issue left.
I know. I was almost done last issue. I know, it's crazy. What's the point though? Like you said, by the end of it, she left the team. It's like, I'm sorry to spoil it, Mike, but it's like, what the heck? Where was this going then? I don't understand. It's just, it got so messed up in these last couple of issues that it just went so far left field that I just lost complete interest. I like forced myself to read this issue because it was just like, and then once I got to the end of it, I was like, I wasted my time. I really liked the beginning of it.
Me too. Yeah. Me too.
When was the first issue? When did it come out?
Oh my
Let's find out, but I think it was like years ago with this.
Yeah,
like 2 years ago.
Let's see.
I think it was 2 years ago.
It came out on, I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was 2022.
Yeah,
2022 is November 2022. So almost to the date, it's been 2 years.
Wow, man.
For 11 issues.
For 11 issues. Yeah, that's crazy.
And then we don't even have Janin doing the artwork. It's a whole different artist that I didn't think was as strong. It's just like, they're really just like, let's do the next JSA. Honestly, I kind of wish they did that MJ Gwen Stacy route where they just don't finish it and just let it go.
Just leave it. Create your own ending, right? Just create it in your mind.
I mean, they're almost doing that at this point anyways.
I mean, it just got, especially in this issue, it got so convoluted, and so much time travel stuff, and you know, throwing. I think they were throwing stuff in from like the TV show. It's like, oh, we got to throw a Calypso in here because you know it was big in the TV. That's what it felt like to me, anyway. It was like, okay, yeah,
that's funny.
You don't have to read it.
So we got to talk about Venom War Spider-Man issue 2. So
another book I think I'm just picking up at Principal at this point because it's not much here. And which is a shame because I want to see a really cool MJ Peter team up. And it just never happens. There's always Paul involved, or
Peter's
there's no
done
like
in it, man.
story
He's done.
beats.
It's jackpot at this point.
Yeah,
He's
it
heading
was
towards
basically
the arena
Jackpot's
now.
story. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Jackpot's story, especially the way it ended.
Also, why did they call it Venom War, Spider-Man, and Jackpot? It's not just a Peter book.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That would make much more sense. I guess because he's got the bigger name or whatever.
I hate the way her powers are now
Oh, I
he
do
puts
too.
this inhibitor on her so she can't risk dying. It's
Right.
like it takes away all stakes out of the comic book and the point of taking that risk. It's like, hey, let me just spin like a slot machine to see if I hit the power that I want. It's so lame. It's so pointless.
The only person who has balanced it well is Jed McKay. I really like that story, how he utilized the power and just that there was any character work. Like we have not seen character work with Jackpot.
Correct.
Since then, I would say.
But I like in that version that it was unpredictable. Like she never knew what she was going to get, and she had to make use of whatever she had. But now it's like, oh, let's just keep respinning and
She's
get
a god.
to the thing. Yeah, exactly. All powerful, no weakness. All that stuff. It's too much. I like the art. I know a lot of people. It's
the art
whatever.
Is fine.
It's Greg Land. I like the art. But yeah, the story was just.
It's just I find it hard too that she's so confident as this hero
so quickly. This. Yeah.
If Kitty Pryde can't be Tress, why can't Mary Jane?
I get like she spent time in this other world, like it was like what 5 years. So it's like off panel, you don't know what she's been through. Right. But I don't think she was been through like these types of cosmic threats because weren't they in hiding? When she was in that whole thing,
and they were protecting kids as well.
Yeah, so exactly.
Only she was just going out there and
right. She can't just go out there. Oh, because I got this gauntlet, I know everything about how to stop everything. It's just like it just doesn't make any sense, and that's just I don't know. Like I know we talk about before about we want characters written the way that they are, and we want comic books to progress and we want new ideas. And even though I can appreciate the attempt, it just doesn't make any sense. Like I feel like we just talked about it. Jed McKay, I felt knew how to do this power for her.
Yeah. And that's the good balance with that particular story. She was still confident and strong, which Mary Jane always is. But she was also, new to all this and still trying to figure it out and not completely comfortable with being a hero. And now all of a sudden it's just like, it's over the top. She's just like Captain America out here.
Yeah.
I'll even give the last miniseries, at least there was the Black Cat MJ relationship where they were like concerned for each other and they're talking about each other's friendship. There was something there that was a story. Here, there's not much. Again, I'll finish it because it's another one issue, but not what I wanted it to be. But luckily, I'm also not even reading Venom War, so I have no stake in the game.
It's like a way they're like sitting there going, well, you guys wanted Peter and MJ together. Well, here's a way that they're together. And that's what I feel like they're trying to do here.
I don't even mind that if it's a good emotional story. If it's them talking about their friendship. I mean, like, I loved you, but I know this won't work out. Let's be good friends. I want you to be my best friend. Sure. They don't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. They act like.
Well, Venom tried to talk about it, but Peter.
Yeah, Venom tried in a comedic way, which I also do not like. This version of Venom, which is like the movie Venom, it doesn't work here.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't mind it, but I get what you're saying.
All right. Let's see. What are we at? So we talked about that. So we're diving into number 2.
Yep.
My number 2 is Plastic Man No More. I really, really like that book. We always talk about books when you don't expect a book to be as good as it was. Mm. And for me, it was phenomenal. Like I really enjoyed it. Just to pack everything that it did without overwhelming the reader. I think, Cantwell did a phenomenal job with that. All right. Brant, what was your number 2?
Mine was Flash Gordon, issue number 2. So
I got that last week.
Did you get it last week?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Yeah. There's another book I think you got in your haul, Mike, the of the Void book from that cave. And that doesn't come out until this week.
That's
so
so I got that last week too.
So
I was like, because I was confused because on League of Comic Geeks, they said it came out like this week.
Yeah.
So, and so like I already had Flash as well.
That's weird. Yeah. Did you like it? I mean, I liked it because we find out Ming's.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you find out Ming's still alive, and he's got to work with his bitter enemy. To try to get out. Of course, he's going to double cross him. He knows he's going to double cross him, and then you end with that cliffhanger where he's basically got to fight this 6-armed giant.
Yeah,
just crazy stuff. But it's written so well. Yeah, it's beautiful art. It's written so well. It's really surprising,
and it's not cheesy either.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So it's good. All right. So what was yours, Kat?
Uncanny Valley issue 5, which is the penultimate issue only for this arc. I think they have another arc coming up. I think maybe originally this was a mini series and now they got more issues, but I like this issue. We learned a little bit more about the power set of our main character. I like the mom in this. I thought she was really action packed, and I like the whole like whiteout situation in the end.
Yeah,
I thought it was a very solid issue.
Yeah, awesome.
And the way he just like, I'm just gonna go into it,
My only problem with this book is it's so like quick. It really
it is very quick read,
But a lot happens in the quickness, which is
absolutely.
Like.
And you get some good character moments. You get the mom that she winds up doing her toon powers in this one, trying to protect her son, and just a lot of elements. And the cliffhanger leaves you excited for that last issue of this arc. So it's great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about you guys can talk about Birds of Prey issue 13. Is there some like portal jumping that's going on, and did they rescue Barbara Gordon and stuff like that?
They're finally done with that.
It just is. No, I was just gonna say it just is at this point. It's a book I read because I want to support the book, but I don't. I'm sure it's gonna happen like Batgirls, where we read like 20 issues and then like the last 5 issues got really good. But
well, I mean, you feel like the team's gonna change after this again, right?
Sure, they keep changing.
Because what's her name? From Wildcats, what is her name? Zealot. She's like, lose my number, and different stuff's going on like that. And so this story's gone. Now you're gonna rotate the cast again. They're done with the portal jumping and everything, but this story I didn't love. I didn't love the portal jumping and all that stuff. So I was there for the characters as well, but I don't know. I'm gonna say tentatively that I might take a break from it, but at the same time, I'm gonna see the roster next time and be like, "Oh, I like that character," and I'm probably gonna jump back on. But
right.
I'm reading it to read it for now. We'll see how long that lasts, but I like Barbara Gordon too much to not see what she's up to.
Right. I get it. I'm there with you, but
it's a hard
one of those books. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All
right. So let's give
there's a question from the watcher. Are we going to read Tom King's Black Canary? Yeah. I'm actually really excited for it because I've been enjoying his Wonder Woman. I'm
definitely going to give it a shot. Yeah.
I will try number 1. I will definitely give you that to talk about it on Worthy Ones. Books of Prey is a book that I'm surprised to hear so much chatter about. Kelly Thompson has gained a big following, and each of her books is main event status.
I mean, it got nominated for an Eisner. That should tell you something. It might not be for us, but that doesn't mean it's not a good book. It's just not our thing.
And I love Kelly Thompson. It's just, I don't know. There's something about some of the stories, just not every story is for every person. Yeah,
the art is a little weird for this book too. So
it is. Yeah.
All right. So we're on to our number one, and Kat's number one is Exceptional X-Men.
5-star book. Love
right? And Brant's number one, is it Exceptional X-Men for you?
It is.
It is. It's not for me. Rook X's is my number one.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that Exceptional X-Men was like, I think it was like number 6.
It's not bad
for me.
You're also not a hardcore Kitty fan either.
Right.
So many books. Uncanny Valley was right there for me. I was putting my stack up and I'm like, man, this is good. This is good. This is good. And then you'll probably come to next week. And next week's comics, there might be a lot of them, but I don't know if they're going to be up to this caliber of.
No. I mean, you got Uncanny X-Men, you got stuff like that, but this week was just, you had Uncanny Valley, you had your Rook, you had a lot of books.
I did hear that there are potential books being delayed tomorrow.
Okay.
And I think one of them could be Transformers. Ooh. I don't know. The article was on Bleeding Cool. I don't know if it's all the covers for Transformers or if it's just like the main cover. I'm not sure 100%.
Well, I will. I don't know.
What are you gonna say?
Now I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I don't see it, but on the League of Geeks, but then I saw it, so I missed it. I read right past it. Jeez.
I found the article on my Facebook group. So someone posted it on there, and it was like not just like this week's books, but throughout the month, there's a few books out there,
Gotcha.
That won't be fun, but we'll see. I know you guys love your Transformers, so that will make the week even weirder and maybe not as strong.
Especially it's the last issue of the arc.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
It's a ooh.
I know I'm okay, but I feel sorry for you guys.
Unicron's gonna come.
We love our unicorn. But I think talking about that, we are going to go to most anticipated and talk about those books.
We are done with the number one. It's your turn, Brant.
Yeah, that's true. I was like thinking we're going to close the show. I forgot all about anticipated. So we're all just like top notch tonight. I'm telling you. All right. So most anticipated.
The internet's been great. And it's been wonderful.
Yeah. Then speaking of most anticipated, I know Transformers is on one of ours at least. I tried to pick books that weren't on y'all's just to be different this time. So. We'll see what we got. We got a lot of books to talk about. Deadweight's number 6. I'll talk about that real quick. This is the final issue of the series. I've really been enjoying this from Ahoy about a couple of supervillains that decide they don't want to be supervillains anymore, try to be heroes or whatever, and keep getting pulled back into it. And then one dude can't find pants. So it's just it's a fun book. All right, so let's talk about Toxic Summer. I don't know what this book is, Kat.
This is a Oni press book that I've been really enjoying. It's these two kids go off to summer break and they're trying to get jobs, and they end up at like a toxic lake, and there's like a monster, and it's cartoony and kind of fun YA situation. So this is the last issue of that. I'm really excited. Also, I should recommend Summer Something coming out from Boom.
Yeah,
people
Summer
are talking
Shadow,
about
maybe?
it. Yeah, people are saying it's good. It's Summer Shadow from.
Is it Dark Horse?
I want to say Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
Yeah, people have been saying that's good. So it's not on my list that I'm excited, but
new series,
new series, yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. Hopefully they'll have it.
Same artist says the glasses book. Specs, yeah. So Chris Sheehan's doing the art for it as well.
Yeah, it is Dark Horse, Summer Shadows.
Okay. So I've been hearing good stuff about that. But yeah, Toxic Summer, if you guys haven't been reading it, if you're looking for like a fun adventure book that doesn't take itself too seriously, that's a good one.
Nice. And TMNT is on both mine and Mike's. The second issue, the first one.
I dropped it.
Did you?
We didn't talk about issue 1. Yeah, I didn't. I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Girl.
First issue,
yeah. It's like Raphael was in the jail and everything, but now this one's focused around Michelangelo. Yeah. So, and he's in Tokyo trying to be like a flippant actor.
Yeah.
So that's kind of wild. I want to see that, man.
I cannot wait. I love the first issue, so this second issue is going to be so good. I think Mikey's my favorite character, so I cannot wait to see Mikey trying to be an
You like obviously like Pizza Mikey? Is that what you like? Yeah,
actor.
bro.
Yeah,
Got
of course.
pizza. Yeah.
Cowabunga, dude.
Yeah.
He's a fun one. That's why.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. We got Avengers Assemble. It's a miniseries, 5-issue miniseries, but I'm very curious about this one. That's why
I am
put it on
too.
my list.
I know Julie
Yeah.
Power's been on a cover, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. So I'm like, okay.
And so is Night Thrasher. Night Thrasher.
Sure.
It's a extended cast of Avengers. They're an emergency response team, but it gives me like Justice League Unlimited vibes.
Mhm.
Going to be different characters highlighted for different missions is kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. So I'm really curious about that one.
I'm picking it up.
Yeah, got a Geiger #6. So
Yep.
yeah, Geiger's. This is this is an epilogue. This is all
Correct.
about
This
Barney.
is an epilogue
Yeah.
after what happened with Barney.
Yeah,
And the electrician and just all that stuff, like how Barney is doing, and just like, oh man. So we we're talking about pets earlier.
yeah.
The first thing we were talking about, and then this one is centered around Geiger's pet dog, the 2-headed dog Barney, and I'm excited for it. This book has a lot of heart, and it's something you would not expect for such a tough character like Tyreek, who is Geiger. So definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Been a strong series. Uncanny X-Men. We've talked about that a few times in the show.
I want to see where issue 2 goes. I'm
Mhm.
always a little worried that they're going to extend the cast and then just becomes too much, but
Yeah.
I really like the cliffhanger. I am interested in these new characters, so I want to see where that goes. And it's Gail Simone, Dave Marquez, so
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
interested to see the issue.
Is it the Outliers? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I think so.
I
Yeah.
think that's what they're called.
I just don't want the book to become focused around just the new characters.
No, I agree with that.
I
know.
think that Exceptional X-Men did a really good job at introducing new characters while still focusing on the old ones. So I hope Uncanny does the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean it's Gail Simone. I trust Gail, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with it though. We got Green Lantern. Issue number.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only tie-in that I feel like is actually continuing its story, even though it's a tie-in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited just to read more Green Lantern.
I just want the Sorrow Core. That's all. I'm
Me
looking
too.
forward to.
I think it's going to be absolute.
Core. I want that core just to build. I want him to go to the other crying fiance, and I want him to go to some broken down kid and be like, "You're Sorrow Core, and you're Sorrow Core. Here's your wedding ring, and here's your wedding." And I just want them all crying over all the Green Lanterns. I just want it. I just
And their
need to see
divorces.
it.
I am also excited for it, but I think it's going to be a few issues after this. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it
This
with
is
this
absolute
one.
power. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. But
I think if I remember right, it's like he's trying to get power for his ring that he just got. So the power battery is like on another continent or whatever it is. So it's going to be a struggle for him. So that's going to be probably pretty fun to read.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Jon Stewart's going to be in it too. Something like that.
Yeah. And then of course Transformers, the aforementioned, if it comes out, Transformers issue 12, End of the Arc, fate of Earth and Cybertron at stake. So we'll see what happens.
Death of Shockwave. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
I think it's a strong possibility. So
yeah,
we'll definitely see. But that's it. That's all our most anticipated. And I guess that's the show.
That is the show. That is it. Right at 12.
2 hours.
Yeah. We started a little later because of me. So apologize.
That's okay. I mean, given that we had very little news and tried to find a topic, going 2 hours is pretty good.
Yeah.
No,
this is a good show.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys sticking with us.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it if you leave, when we leave or before you leave, give it a thumbs up. Show everybody else that you like the show and continue to make the show grow. We appreciate you sticking, notifications, bells, likes, all that great stuff, guys. You're great. Thank you for your comments And looks like we got Thor's drinking buddy. I got a copy of Transformers, so congratulations
Awesome.
on getting
good
that
news.
book. Yeah, so that's good news. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll bring you another episode next week. Hopefully, we got a major topic to talk about. And happy new comic book day. And we'll see you all next week. So